Skywatch Media News for the third week of March 2018. Not too long ago, planetary scientists from the California Institute of Technology, located in Pasadena, made a startling announcement which they were certain would help explain a perplexing astronomical mystery, that our sun has tilted 6 degrees to its equator. According to their analysis, a massive presence in our solar system has tilted the sun as well as other planets. All of these planets orbit in a flat plane within a few degrees of one another with respect to the sun. They refer to it as the ecliptic plane. With the tilt, it appears that our sun isn't aligned the way it should be on the orbital plane. It seems odd that the most massive body in our solar system would be off kilter, since the sun is oriented differently than all other bodies that are out there. Since the noted tilt is such a deep-rooted mystery, most people rather not talk about it. Even so, researchers have run a number of computer simulations that all seem to point to one extraordinary conclusion: that the tilt of the planets in our solar system could be explained by the gravitational influence of a massive presence. Of course, this is just one explanation that has been introduced, but there are others, including one that suggests that there may be an imbalance in the mass of the sun's core. But the one that grabs the most headlines is the theory that our sun is orbited by a yet unseen massive planet that is more than 10 times the size of the Earth with a precarious orbit, what's called a retrograde movement. Therefore, its presence would be creating a tremendous impact on our solar system based on where it is located and its approximate size. The existence of a planet beyond Neptune was actually predicted many years ago by an astronomer named Percival Lowell. According to his calculations, the only way that Neptune and Uranus could be in their present orbits would be if there was another large planet lurking out of sight in the far reaches of the solar system, where it would be perturbing the orbits of these planets with its gravitational influence. Lowell so named the unknown body Planet X in the year 1906, and commenced on his enlightened journey to find the elusive planet, and he did so up until the time of his death in 1916. Then in 1930, more than a decade after the passing of Percival Lowell, astronomer Clyde Tombaugh announced the discovery of Pluto at the Flagstaff, Arizona Observatory. The planet was discovered in just about the precise location where Lowell's calculations had determined Planet X to be. Of course, Pluto, as it turned out, was far too small to perturb the orbits of Uranus and Neptune, which may explain why it was reclassified as a dwarf planet in the year 2006. Which brings us back to today's growing body of evidence that a giant presence is waiting in the cold darkness of the universe, a presence that may soon be known. Planet Earth is changing. It is doing so relentlessly and in short order. The Earth changes happening now are no longer happening gradually. They are escalating, which should have all of us wondering what will happen next and who will end up in the crosshairs of these horrific events. When discussing Earth changes, there are basically 2 classifications. On one end of the spectrum are natural events, which include earthquakes, extreme weather, and solar activity. On the other end are changes that are classified as rare and unusual, events that may happen only once in many thousands of years. They include a shift in the Earth's axis, a melting of the polar caps, and the frightening possibility of a polar shift. Any of these events can and probably would lead to overwhelming changes to social, economical, and political systems, and they would do so on a global scale. Earth changes was introduced by Edgar Cayce to refer to the belief that the world would soon enter into a series of cataclysmic events causing major alterations in human life on the planet. His visions, which were written while in a trance, were well received by the Christian community, so much so that his biographer gave him the nickname the Sleeping Prophet. While observing the tremendous changes that are happening in our time, we can reflect on a series of future events seen by Casey that were written and recorded for the benefit of our generation and those of our successors. Let's take a look at some recent events from across the globe that paint a portrait of the many changes being cast upon the earth in our time. We'll begin with this amazing footage from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, where an intense flash flood swept away dozens of vehicles, a scene that is occurring all too frequently as it captures our attention. According to civil defense authorities, the region received half of its average historical monthly rain in the span of 20 minutes. Hailstorms are becoming the new norm. Like torrential, inundating rains, they are becoming a serious threat as they leave a path of devastation in their wake. A powerful hailstorm swept across several counties in Texas on March 18th. This rare satellite image from the NOAA shows the extent of the hail track that was left behind by severe storms across this region. The two bands shown above are showing the amount of hail lying on the ground as observed from space. The image to the upper right is the sequence of hail occurrence as indicated by radar, while the lower right image shows tracks from stronger rotating storms. Large hail struck the Texas cities of Caldwell and Waco, as shown in this image via Twitter. This video compilation shows a time lapse of the supercell that moved into the region, followed by the immense hailstorm that produced baseball-size hail. The hail that fell in north-central Texas was immense, but the hailstorm that struck in northern Alabama on March 19th was so terrifying that it virtually destroyed everything in its path. Hail the size of softballs crashed down on cars and buildings, smashed through windows and roofs, and caused ceilings to collapse. The following video compilation shows the intensity of the storm as giant hailstones fell from the sky in the city of Cullman and not far away in Madison County, Alabama.
a lot of us are in the freaking, like, there's about maybe 500 of us in the inside the store area, the pickup area. We're all okay.
The spring equinox may have officially arrived, but for many people living in the Canadian province of New Brunswick, it still seems very much like winter. The third in a series of nor'easter storms this month have imperiled the province of New Brunswick, where many feet of snow have fallen, knocking out power to thousands of residents. The images out of Bathurst showing huge snowdrifts are simply incredible. Do you know that there are rivers that exist in the sky? Better known as atmospheric rivers, they are narrow conveyor belts of vapor that extend thousands of miles out to sea along the Pacific coast. They carry enough moisture to fill the Mississippi River 15 times over. They strike as a series of storms that can last for days or even weeks. They are capable of dropping many inches of rain and feet of snow. What is being called the biggest storm of the year is heading towards the Pacific coast of California. A strong and unusual weather system is threatening to create havoc. In December of 1861 and the beginning of 62, an atmospheric river that brought storms for 43 days turned California's Central Valley into an inland sea, 300 miles long and 20 miles wide. Thousands of people died, 800,000 cattle drowned, and the state went bankrupt. If a similar disaster happened today, it would be far more devastating since California is more densely populated and because it is the largest food producer in the United States. Geologic core samples extracted from California show that extreme events like the one from 1861 happen about every 200 years. So another similar event is just about overdue. The weather anomaly that is soon expected to hit California will most likely tap into that atmospheric river. The National Weather Service is indicating that the anticipated system will become the largest and most dangerous storm thus far in 2018. Rainfall rates could reach levels that increase the risk of mudslides and debris flows in Southern California as a result of the recent wildfires that have plagued the region. Meanwhile, heavy snow is expected in the Sierra Nevada, where recent series of storms has already dumped a record 16 feet of snow in the month of March. So this anomaly is certainly one that many people will be certain to keep vigil over as its effects begin settling in. The receding of the ocean waters continues. The anomalous occurrence began last August in the southern hemisphere and has now extended its reach into the northern latitudes, where the seas are retreating in a strange occurrence from the southwest shores of Sakhalin Island in Russia's Far East. It began on March 19th in the Kuril Islands with the eruption of the Epical volcano, where a plume of ash and gas was hurled 2 kilometers above sea level. The following evening, March 20th, the ocean waters almost completely disappeared along the southwest coast of Sakhalin Island for as far as the eyes could see. This tidal phenomena, like almost every other similar occurrence, is being blamed on the accumulation of powerful storms, an explanation which has yet to resonate with the public, since most of these events have been anomalous in nature. Coincidentally, a similar retreat of the waters, which were not associated with alleged storms, happened on Sakhalin Island in 2007 when earthquakes hit the Novalsk region. They generated 3 tsunami waves of 10.5 feet in height. The earthquakes also released methane from the coal beds in the coastal zone of 25 miles in length. They caused an uplift of the seaport and the destruction of many buildings, bridges, and roads in this region. It may be worth noting that a tsunami has never been reported in the Tatar Strait in the history of observations. Therefore, this particular phenomena, like so many others in recent months, is one that has people shaking their heads and wondering what on earth is happening to the waters, since explanations from officials are not sufficient enough to solve the riddle of the disappearing seas that are now happening all too often. As we look towards the sky, there are many incredible events that are on full display. At sunrise on March 13th, a photographer captured this phenomenal sight from Angel Point in Jacksonville, Florida. The optical phenomenon appeared to be suspended in the atmosphere above the horizon. Incredulous as this image from Angel Point may seem, the same manifestation appeared almost 2 years to the date from Cornwall in the United Kingdom. It's ironic that we spend so much time walking around looking down at our smartphones when the real action is going on in the skies for all to see. Not long ago, this astonishing double solar halo appeared in the sky over Brazil. This atmospheric phenomenon, which was once considered a rare sight, is happening on a grand scale across the world, due in part to the overextension of chemtrail spraying that affects the upper atmosphere, as well as the influx of cosmic particles into the atmosphere. Something very strange is happening in the atmosphere above the Earth that remains unexplained. Is it changes in the Earth's core, chemtrailing, holograms from HAARP, a huge fireball, or the manifestation of heavenly signs? No one knows for certain. On March 13th, an ominous sight appeared in the sky over Thailand. Onlookers were stunned as the clouds appeared to be on fire. A similar sight appeared in the sky over Ecuador on March 3rd, which has people questioning whether these sightings are an omen, a sign of the times. And so it appears that people are taking photos and video captures of this strange phenomenon from the Eastern Hemisphere and from the West. As the world changes, so must all living things. With the passing of time, we shall come to know and understand our place in the universe, where life began and where life will lead us in our never-ending journey towards truth and knowledge. By opening our eyes, we shall come to see the creation of all things, both old and new, as we look to the sky for the signs that guide us in our time of need. Thanks for watching.